Hello there, guys. Welcome to AppSheet and more. It's been exactly 1 year since we launched our very first video, and wow, what a year it has been. I would like to take this moment to thank a few people for what they've done for me in the last year. Firstly, I want to thank Imopel for getting me a tripod for this channel. It's made life so much easier. I also want to take this moment to thank Chris and Priscilla for my gifts. I really appreciate them. And to you, my viewers who have been watching my video in the last 1 year, you guys have been awesome. You guys have supported this channel by subscribing, by liking, and by sharing. And for that, I am creating a whole new series on how to create accounting software with AppSheet. It's going to cover so many things. You're going to have a trial balance, you're going to have income statement and a balance sheet. You're going to also have GLs and how to pass transactions, debit and credit in your app and see real time how they affect your income statement. So guys, I know you're excited. This video will be coming out very soon. Now let's move on to today's discussion. In today's video, we're going to look at how you can include checkboxes into your app. Yes, in AppSheet, it is possible to include checkboxes into your app. I know people have had a lot of experiences where they wanted checkboxes and found it difficult to do. But in this video, I'm going to show you how you can do that. So if you're excited, join me and let's do this in AppSheet. Okay, guys, so this is the app we're going to be using for our demonstration. Over here, we have a simple vehicle app that has our checkboxes over here. So as you can see, when you click this, it unchecks and it checks over here. And you know, originally by default, every row, once you click on the row in a table view, you are supposed to see the details, right? But because of these checkboxes, which can be selected at any point of the row, right? We don't drill into the detail view. So to keep that problem, we've added this icon that allows you, once you click in, to see the detail view. Okay, so the user can now check a row or uncheck a row freely, and then can click on this icon to drill into to see the details. So let's see how this is done. Okay, so to get this done, we're going to be using one of my apps I created for tracking drivers and vehicles. So we're going to create some checkboxes on the vehicle table that allows users to kind of select certain vehicles for whatever purpose they are selecting them. And what we're going to do is, before we demonstrate how to create or bring in our checkboxes, I want to demonstrate one feature AppSheet currently has that is quite close to having checkboxes, which is a toggle. Okay, a lot of people are not familiar with the toggle because it's not a straightforward feature in AppSheet. But then I'm going to show you in this video how you can create a toggle, and then we'll look at how we can also create the checkboxes as indicated initially. Okay, so first let me just save this. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to data, and then we're going to bring in our data source. We're going to include a new column. So I'm going to call this selected status. Okay, so in this column, I'm going to indicate whether a row has been selected or not. Okay, so I'll come back to my table over here. I'm going to regenerate the table. Okay, so it seems I regenerated the wrong table. Let me see over here. This is the right table, vehicles. So let's regenerate that. Now we've regenerated the vehicles table and we now have our selected status column. Okay, so we're going to first change this to yes, no data type. Okay, now when you set it to yes, no, all you need to do is when you come and check here, you notice at the bottom, you're going to have N and Y, which is yes and no, right? Good. Now, when you go to your view and you come to vehicles, that's vehicle details. You can also click here. So I'm going to click this, select this, and I click here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to include this column over here. So I'm going to click plus before, and I'll bring our selected status column over here. Now you notice that nothing has changed, okay? Because the selected status column is blank. But then when we make it a quick edit, so we come here and then we make this a quick edit, then we have what? Our toggle. You see, so now we have our toggle, which is a very unique, beautiful feature in AppSheet. Funny enough, it's not very available in other views, just in the detail view when you set a column to quick edit. Now, let me just point it out that if you go in and then you provide default or you provide values other than the default, it's not going to allow you to have the toggle. It's going to give you the no and yes. So let me save this, right? You're only going to get a toggle if you leave AppSheets to set the default to N and Y. If you come here and you set the default to maybe never, and let's say agree, and click save, click done, and you come here, right? You're going to have buttons as your selectable options, okay? But once you allow AppSheet to provide the default N and Y, so you leave this as blank, right? So if you leave this as blank, click save, click done, then you have the toggle. All right, so that's just by the way, just to demonstrate how to create a toggle, which is something close to what we want to achieve with the checkboxes. Now we're going to proceed to create our checkboxes. Good. Now, the first thing we need to do is to change this selected type status column, which you're going to use, to text. Good. So this column is going to play a very critical role in our checkbox usage. Now we'll come to actions, okay? And then we're going to create an action that is going to determine whether a rule has been selected or unselected. And the value, selected and unselected, will be placed in our selected status column. So we'll come here to vehicles, click this plus, create an action, and say selected status. Good. And then what it does is basically set the value of some columns in this rule. The column is a selected status column. We're going to say if selected status column is not equal to selected, right? So if it's either blank or anything else, then I want you to give me selected. Other than that, give me unselected. Save. Good. So this is what we have. So selected and unselected. Good. So what happens is that whenever this icon is clicked, right, we want selected or unselected. Good. I'm going to hide this. Now what I'm going to do is in the vehicles table, I'm going to bring this column, which is a selected status. Let me just bring it here. So come to manual and I'll say add column before. Okay, the column is already here. So I'm going to pull this up and then let's save. Good. So now when I click this, I get the detail view. Now what I want to do is on click, I want this column to either show selected or unselected. So I'll scroll down here and under behavior, it says by default, when you select a rule or rule selected, it shows what? View details. You are able to see or view the details. But instead of doing that, we want to run this script or this action, which is selected status, which basically converts whatever is existing to the opposite. So when I click here, I have selected. When I click here, I have unselected. Same for this side. Selected, unselected. See? Good. So this selected, unselected is going to play a very crucial role in helping us show that checkbox field, right, in AppSheet. So we'll come here, come to format rules, click on the plus button, and we'll create a format. Okay. Now basically the format is going to say rule selected. Good. And then we're going to come here, we're going to say it's going to be a very simple condition that's going to say selected status is equal to selected. Good. Let me save this. So once the status is selected, what we want to do is now we're going to put the checkbox in front of the very first column in our table view. So in this case, we're going to have registration as a first column, right? If it was going to be something else, all you need to do is select that column. Now, this is something that is not said a lot, but those who are not familiar with conditional formatting in AppSheet, you probably don't realize that when you're selecting a column, right? When you select certain columns, right, you need to click outside for it to actually be selected. Okay, if you don't click outside for it to be selected and you save, it will not be selected. Good. So I'm going to select registration. I'm going to click outside of it for it to become gray. Then I know that it's selected. Then I'll come to visual format. The first thing I need is a square with a check mark in it. So I'm looking for a square with a check mark. Yes, this is it. Right. I'm going to leave it as black. Good. So this is done. So row is equal to selected. You have this in place. And then I'm going to create a duplicate of this. And I'll say row is unselected. Now for this one, the condition is going to be it's not equal to selected. I'm going to click save, right? Again, it's also going to be in the registration number. But this time around, square, right? We want just an empty square. So like this. Good. So that's our unselected and blank. You notice that what we have the empty squares. But once I click here, you see what is checked, checked, unchecked, checked. Fantastic. Good. So that means this column has played its role, played its purpose. We don't need it anymore. First, I'll save this, and then I'm going to hide that column. So I'll come here to data, come to vehicles, and then I'll come here and I'll say uncheck. Good. Then I'll click this. It's still there. It's not there anymore. Good. So now we are able to check and uncheck. But what this means is that we've lost something very crucial, which is the ability for the user to click on a row and drill down to the details view, which is also very important. So what we're going to do is we're going to make up for it. We're going to create another action that the user can click on to be able to go to the details. So we'll click here, actions, and then we'll come to vehicle, click this plus button, create a new action, and you say go to details. Good. Now, by default, when you create an action on a particular table, all the views relating to that table can see that action. So for instance, over here, we're in the detail view, you can see the action over here, right? But then what we want to do is that this action should only show in one view, which is the table view. We don't want it to show in the detail view and other views that it's not related to. Good. So I'm going to create a condition for that, but that is going to be later in behavior section. So for now, we need to specify what we want the action to do. So we click here and we say we want it to go to another view within this app. Once you do that, it's going to ask you for a target link. Where do you want to go to? So you click here to provide that condition. Now, there are several functions in AppSheet that allows you to move from one point to another. We have link to view, link to form, link to filtered view, link to row, link to app, and then we have link to parent view. But what we want to do is we want to go to a specific view for a specific row that's selected. If you use link to view, it will take you to a particular view, but it's going to show you the very first record in that view. So if I select the detail of a particular record, it's going to take me to all the details and show me the very first detail of the very first record. But I want to go to that particular record I selected. So then we need to use filtered view. So we'll put the view here, vehicle details. Again, AppSheet has gone all the way to make sure it's easy now to create this kind of functions or formulas because you don't need to memorize the view's name. Once you just bring the double quotation, it pulls out the view's name for you. Initially, it wasn't like that. Okay, so the condition here is going to be vehicle ID, which is a unique identifier, is equal to, okay, square brackets, this row dot vehicle ID, something like this. And then we're going to click save, right? Good. So this is our icon over here. Now, what we want to do is we want this icon to show in the table, right? But then tables do not allow icons or actions to show directly in them. unless they are within a certain position, because we have three types of positions. We have primary, prominent, inline, then hide. Hide means you don't want it to show at all. Prominent is, so over here, let me just demonstrate this. I want to go to the detail view. How do I do this? Let me come here. Vehicles, detail view. Good. And then show in preview. Good. Okay. So here we are. Right. Such a long way to get here, but then we finally here. Good. So what we're going to do is I want to demonstrate these positions. So this is prominent. Prominent, you see it directly on the detail of that particular record. But we click primary, is going to be on the side, right? Yes. So we have primary, prominent, and we have inline. Inline means it's going to be on a particular column. So if I select inline, I'll be asked to select which column. So if I select, for instance, make, let's say make, what this means is that whenever I come to the make, I can click on the make for something to happen. Do you get it? Good. So you make a particular column clickable, basically, so you can run the action. Good. So if you come here to vehicles, you realize that where I had make, now I have the actions over there. This is the only way you can show an action in a table, by linking it to a field. So because the make is an important field and we can't replace it with the action, that allows us to go to the details. What we're going to do is we're going to create a particular field just for this purpose. So we'll come here and then under vehicles, we're going to click this and we say row details action. Something like this, and you say go to details. I'm going to save this. Let's just make row details. Let's click done. Good. So when we come to the action button over here, we select the row details. Good. So that our make can still show, which is very important. And then we bring in our row details column over here. So I'm going to change the display to a magnifying glass. You can use any icon you feel would best demonstrate that you want the user to drill in, right? Good. And then we'll come here to views, okay, and under vehicles, okay, I'm going to come here and then before the selected status, where we had selected status, I'm going to take that off and I'm going to bring here row details. Good. So we have row details shown over here. Now let me save this. Good. So now when I click on this icon, I can go into the details to see the details. When I come back here, I have the view over here where I can check and uncheck, right? So this allows me to check and uncheck, and this allows me to drill down into the details. Okay, guys, so you see, it's indeed possible to create checkboxes in AppSheet. But it's important for me to point out that these checkboxes you're going to be creating with this technique are not mutually exclusive. That means that another user can see what a user has checked and unchecked them. If you think it's going to be useful to create a scenario where users have their own checkboxes and what one user checks cannot be unchecked by another user, leave a comment and I'll actually consider creating a video for it. I also want to remind you one more time that there is going to be a series on how you can create your own accounting application in AppSheet. We're going to be looking at how you can create a trial balance, how you can create an income statement, a balance sheet, GLs, passing transaction debits and credits, the whole works. So please remember to subscribe, to share, leave a comment, and to support this page. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye, guys.